Okay, so you've grinded countless hours on piece control maps, edit courses, zone wars, etc. But for some reason you can't even place near to your favorite pros. Well, why is that? In this video, we'll answer that question and we'll guarantee you earn at least 20 to 50 points, more each tournament, with this whole new approach to getting better a fortnight. But we'll have to start at basics. Do you know how many sections each game has? There is the early game, the mid game, and the late game. You might be saying, well, yeah, obviously, but how is that going to help me win some money? Just wait. In a second, it will all make sense. Okay, so you play 1 versus 1 realistics to get better at mid-game fights. You play zone wars to clutch up endgames. You practice your mechanics in creative. You play aim courses for better aim. And you are actually making some great progress, but you are still not quite there. So what's missing? Can you guess? If you said practicing your early game, you were right. But barely anyone will guess that, since not a lot of people know about this. Everyone is practicing zone wars and 1 versus 1 realistics, whilst the people who are making it big are working on their sense of gameplay. Never heard of that one, have you? But what is this sense of gameplay? It's when your brain has to make a 0.1 second decision, when you have to decide between fighting that kid that landed on your house or gathering more resources, when you have to decide between starting a fight with the potential outcome of getting third-partied or not starting one. But even simple things like taking the right loadout for the right scenario. This might not look like it, but is the most important part of the game. Dying mid or end game will get you decent points, but dying early game gets you absolutely nothing. And your favourite players know this. So how on earth can they rarely lose an early game fight, whilst keying everyone and seemingly getting easy kills? The answer to that is more simple than you think. It's because it's their job to get those kills. They can invest more time into the game. Then you sow whilst you practice 1 hour in creative and play 3 hours. For an example, they practice 2 hours and play for 6. So the question is, are we cooked? Will the pros just always be better? Well, not exactly. If there is a will, there'll always be a way. Let's think about this logically. If we practice piece control with a specific map, editing with another map, and every part of the game with different maps meant to drastically improve our abilities in that specific area, then why wouldn't we do the same thing with the early game? Not only would it help us win those essential early game fights, not only would it help us recognize the potential of an easy elimination, but it would also help us make logical decisions throughout the whole game based on resources and the scenario. Oh, and did I forget to mention how nerve-wracking and fun it could be? That is why I created LandWars Map specifically designed to simulate the early game and help you get better in an area that you never tried to improve on. You will easily surpass your competition, not the fancy way but the effective way. You land, you loot, and fight the other 10 players.
Fencing fields. The
last standing wins. And as you play and get better, you will be able to get into endgames at a higher percentage. And with that train, the mid and endgame scenarios in the tournaments itself. Remember, there is not bigger time wasting than queuing, waiting, loading, jumping, gliding, landing, looting, and just dying because of a wrong decision. You can't even practice mid or end game in ranked unless you get through that early game. Practicing the early game is the most beneficial thing you can do. Your overall sense for the game and the amount of right decisions you make will skyrocket. So what I advise you to do is to hit that follow button, so I can get noticed by Epic and get a map code. In return, I'll guide you to make some serious money, doing something a bit different than everyone else. You are early, trust me. You don't want to be late when this map drops.